Okay, now that the summer movie season is essentially over, Expendables was the last big film of the entire summer. I mean, what else is there? Piranha's 3D. I might go see it, but it's still not like a real summer film. All the big event films are over. So it's time to now take a look back, see how this summer movie season was. Kind of a wrap up, kind of maybe a, I don't want to call it a retrospective, but how was this a good season? Was this a bad season? So let's start off in the general. Uh, was it overall a good movie season? Yeah. I saw a lot of films that I liked. Not all of them I reviewed here on the channel, but I did like most of the films I saw. There were some bad ones, obviously. How does it stack up to previous movie seasons? Let's say last year's. I'm going to give it a slightly better. For whatever reason, I feel like I liked the movies I saw this year overall a little better than the ones I saw last year. Not by a whole lot. In fact, they're much more close to being even. But I'm going to give this one a slight, at least right now. Maybe in the future I'll forget about most of these films and the ones from 2009 will be more memorable, but for the time being, this one's slightly better than last year. Best movies of the year. Normally I would say best movie of, well, not the year, but of the summer movie season. This year I really got to do two, because I really can't decide between these two. So I'm going to say best sequel and best original screenplay. Or, well, yeah. Well, not original screenplay, but best, like, non-previous movie property. I bet you can guess which two these are going to be. Iron Man 2 for best sequel. It really is probably one of the best sequels I've ever seen done. It flowed so well from one movie to the other. I mean, you could really play, other than the recasting of Rhodey, you could really play these movies back to back. Like, have the end of Iron Man, just go to fade to black and go 1 year later. And you could play it as one film, and it would work other than the one, cast change. Which is exactly what a sequel should be doing. And of course, hyping us up for the whole Avengers and Thor. So, did a very good job there. Best original, obviously, is going to be Inception. I did a multi-part review on this film. It's wonderful. And again, it shows Christopher Nolan has finally realized that you can have a smart and highly intelligent film with a lot of action. He's one of the few actors. There's action directors, and then there's kind of like the artsy, kind of very high-level thinking directors. Normally, there's movies like that, and normally directors will do one or the other. It seems like Nolan has finally realized you can do both at the same time, and it makes the movie that much better on both counts. Now let's get to the ugly parts. There were a lot of mediocre and just bad stuff that came out, which actually in the long run might make me reconsider this, giving it a little bit better. The more I think about it, the more I've kind of brought it down from this movie season being better than last year to now just a little bit above last year. So who knows how long term I'm going to rate this a year. Worst movie. You know what? I'm gonna go with most disappointing movie, and that's Robin Hood. Not that it was a bad film, but it wasn't a Robin Hood film, and even it was really just trying to be an examination of the medieval lifestyle and medieval culture, and it kind of failed in that too at the very end, where they had Maid Marian show up in battle, like, for no reason at all. I mean, you can do Maid Marian as a fighter, but not in a movie that's trying to be really more of an examination of real medieval life and real medieval society. It doesn't flow as well, because that really didn't happen. It was like Joan of Arc, but that's about it when it comes to situations like that in medieval England, or medieval Europe, I should say. Plus, her character didn't need it to be strong. She was a very strong character without having the the swordplay part. So yeah, there was a very weird moment in the film. You're like, what did they? Because it was this outside the character of the rest of the film. And of course, biggest problem though, that's just a minor complaint that this kind of shocked me from what the movie was trying to be, which was not what you were expecting it to be, which was a Robin Hood film. This film had virtually nothing to do with Robin Hood, other than like two scenes. Of course, most people are going to say the worst film of this year, or this season, the summer season, will be The Last Airbender. And yeah, it was a horrible film. I did a review on this, so there's no real point in going into it in depth, but there is a silver lining to this, and that is that it made me go watch the series, and I've become now a huge fan of the series. In fact, just yesterday I went out and bought one of the old like PlayStation 2 video games for the series, just because I now want to collect this stuff. So there's at least a silver lining to the badness of The Last Airbender, and as sad as it is, I will probably wind up picking it up on DVD one day, just because I love fantasy films, and I'm trying to build up a huge library of fantasy movies, so eventually it will wind up in my DVD collection, but only because Red Sonja is going in there too. Just to give you an idea that that's not a full endorsement. Some other things. There were a lot of also mediocre films this season. Sorcerer's Apprentice, Salt, Clash of the Titans. In my opinion, they were right there smack in the middle. Very, Salt, good action, bad plot. Sorcerer's Apprentice, I did love it, but it's one of the, it's like a cake that you eat and it tastes good at the time, but you forget about it like a while later. It has no lasting memory. And again, I actually like that film, but it does kind of quickly leave you. It doesn't leave any lasting impressions. And the Titans, when you compare it to the original, it doesn't stand up that well. Plus, the characters aren't as sympathetic as I think they were supposed to be. That's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, I've seen a ton of movies. A-Team was fun. Predators was really good. Other Guys, meh. But I think in the long run, this movie season is going to be seen as very mediocre. Even though I'm giving it a little bit better rating than last year. There were so many movies that I think are staying with me right now that I think will lose their taste in the future. Maybe not. That it might be seen as mediocre. Though the year isn't done for movies. We still have Tron Legacy and several other films to get to. Right now, we're gonna be moving into what I like to call that little back to school movie season, where they'll put out some nice action films. Resident Evil Afterlife, obviously, big one there. It's kind of a weird little 2 weeks that they do that. Then we move into the horror movie season of October, and by the mid-November we get back into the big movie times, which is the winter. I like to call it the winter movie season, the holiday movie season. And then we go to the dry spell, and then we're back to summer again. So that's the future outlook. No doubt you'll see some. I know it's obviously I have a Resident Evil video up, but I'll try to do maybe some more retro reviews now in the future. We kind of go through a little bit of a dry spell there. Signing off for now. Later.